Good Tuesday morning. Carl here for your Tuesday devotion. Sorry it's a little bit late this afternoon as we had VBS this morning, kept a whole bunch of volunteers and myself quite busy. But I want to continue on with the devotion that we've been going through for the past 2 weeks, Colossians 3 verses 1 through 14, talking about what we clothe ourselves with. Again, we've talked about going into our closet and choosing clothes out to wear out into public, giving an appearance of kind of who we are in the way we dress. And in your closet, you have, I'm sure, a variety of clothes, from pants to shirts and ladies' skirts and dresses, and with winter clothes and spring clothes and the super hot summertime clothes, the beach wear. And our spiritual selves also has different clothes, and that's what Paul tells us in Colossians 3. The first week we talked about clothing ourselves with compassion, much as Christ did, was very compassionate. We are to put that on ourselves as well. And then last week we talked about kindness, and this week is humility, and I believe this week would be very difficult for some people to clothe themselves with, because in our culture today, humility is not seen as a strong suit, as culture says that we should be boasting about ourselves, because humility is viewed almost as a sign of weakness. But we read in Luke 18, specifically chapter 13, Jesus tells this parable about a Pharisee and a tax collector going to the temple. And the Pharisee stands off at a distance in his pompous, proud self, looking all good with his best clothes on, and prays and says, well, thank goodness I'm not like that tax collector, because I fast twice a week and I give a tenth of everything I have. But the tax collector, knowing his sinful self, wouldn't even look up to heaven and beat on his chest and just said, God, have mercy on me, a sinner. And Jesus tells his disciples, he says, I tell you this, that man, rather than the other being the Pharisee, went home justified before God. For those that exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted. Humility can be a very difficult thing for some people in some positions, when you're supposed to be so self-confident that nobody can see your weaknesses. But when we exalt ourselves so high that we start looking down on other people, we actually start leaving less and less room for God to be present and work in our lives. But we also have to be careful, because we can use humility in the wrong way as well, making ourselves look so humble that we actually point the finger back to ourselves and basically building ourselves up higher by saying, look how humble I am. But the true humbled spirit just goes on, does what God asks them to do without trying to bring light to themselves. Humility is not weakness, it's actually strength. So may you find yourself being humble and a very humble servant before God today, and all those opportunities where God can use you as his hands and feet. May you serve in humility. Amen.